live from Studio 1A in beautiful downtown Tempe. It is the Feel the Love Podcast Hour with your host, Irma. Take it away, Irma.
Oh, I'm so glad you guys are here. I have my wonderful sister-in-law, Catherine Chandler, and Trudy, who is a volunteer with her organization. But first, we got to do a little bit of history here. How long do you think our family has been involved in the bus industry?
I can tell you exactly. Because I tell this story when I go speak to groups all the time.
Go for it.
1939, Grandpa was a dairy farmer in Wisconsin. And he started trucking in to the city milk. So when he came into the city with milk, the superintendent of schools stopped him and told him, bring the kids with you, they're not coming to school. So he bought a school bus and started school bus transportation in 1939. So I'm going to tell you how long I've been in transportation. So our first cousins still run the service, and one of our aunts, Aunt Ann, and they do school bus transportation and more. Mm-hmm. They do coach busing. They did transportation at the Olympics when it was in Canada. They do some paratransit, and they do tours all over the United States. And so I moved out here when I was 19. I moved out to Arizona from Wisconsin. And when my kids all went to school, I needed to get a job. So I went down to the school because that's where I knew everybody, because I was on PTA and site effectiveness team. And they said, go to the transportation department. They need a dispatcher. I ended up being a dispatcher, getting a CDL and driving backup school bus as a backup school bus driver. And then we moved to Flagstaff for 10 years, where I was the paratransit manager and mobility manager.
Nice. So everything kind of just led into this.
Yeah.
So what motivated to do the Northwest Valley Connect?
Northwest Valley Connect was started by two larger nonprofits in the Northwest Valley, Sun Health and Benavia, who saw a need for transportation. There are no buses that come out to the Northwest Valley. The grid in Phoenix, which is huge, comes out to Mesa, and it goes to Peoria. It does not go out to Surprise or Sun City or Sun City West. So they started Northwest Valley Connect just to focus on transportation. And I was looking for a job in the area. We were moving back down from Flagstaff and took this position as a challenge. So in 2014,
I remember you calling me saying, this is a big opportunity, Irma, and I have a job interview, and I just told you, own it, and you got it. Mm-hmm. And it's a good challenge, though.
It's been very good to me, yes.
And you were recently on TV.
We did have a clip on Channel 3 and 5, yes.
It was fantastic.
Yeah, it was good.
And you also had some fundraising this past week.
We were at a restaurant in Surprise, Blue Sushi, and they supported us, and we fundraised to be able to fix one of our vans that needed maintenance done to it. And we raised the whole $950.
That's fantastic. Now, Trudy, how did you get involved with this organization?
No, my background is in it's in health administration, and I'm Native American. I've worked with Native American tribes, and I went through Experience Matters, a nonprofit organization that provides volunteers to organizations to build capacity, especially nonprofit organizations to build their capacity. And so I interviewed with Kathy, and I like what Northwest Valley Connect does as far as community, the impact on communities and the community members for transportation. Kathy didn't mention, but these are people that are 65 years and older. Mm-hmm. They are those with disability. They are those that are veterans. And so that the Northwest Valley community has, if you call it a community, that whole area or region has a huge population, over 74,000 that are 65 years or older without access to transportation.
That's
So
amazing.
It is amazing.
It's amazing that in this day and age that this type of organization has to exist in order to take care of its population.
And these are volunteers. We
Yeah.
have 80 volunteers that have stepped up to the plate to take care of this population. Absolutely.
And so when you do it, what kind of experiences have you had that have just been like an aha moment, or just like, oh, I'm so glad I'm doing this?
You know, every day I go to work is an aha moment, because it is the members of our communities that receive the benefits of what our volunteers do. And like I said, a lot of times these volunteers, they work their butts off, so to speak, you know, because it's either transporting in their vehicles, providing a service using their vehicles and their fuel, their insurance, everything. And then it is the recipients who are the members, who many of them, 85% of our members, are disabled. So being able to go to a dialysis or a medical appointment, or even get their hair done so they can get out of the house, is an aha moment.
Well, that's good. And so tell me, Kathy, how do you get the volunteers? How do you get the word out that says, hey, we need money, or we need assistance with this vehicle, or hello, the baby boomers are about to retire and they're going to need our help, because everyone knows that everybody retires either in Sun City or Sun City West.
Yeah, nice area. Well, actually, Trudy has a big part in encouraging volunteerism. Trudy writes articles that are in the paper on a regular basis.
Nice.
One of our board members, Bonnie Boyce Wilson, does also. Writes really terrific articles. We have outreach with our volunteers who encourage friends and family to volunteer with us also. So if you don't have any speeding tickets, Irma, we'd love to have you drive with us.
Even though I don't know where I'm going at a drop of a hat. I don't even
Google
know
Maps.
north and south. Oh, it's so bad. It's so bad. I get lost in my own neighborhood. But no, it's good that you have the opportunity for people to volunteer. Now, do you have a volunteer mechanic to maintain the vehicles?
We have a volunteer fleet manager,
Nice. And who
Rich.
is that great person?
Rich Green, and he works really hard to make sure our vehicles are in good shape.
And that's a lot of hard work, especially with this heat and the
And
tires.
he's a volunteer. We have 2 paid staff, myself and a transit manager, Jennifer. Everybody else is a volunteer. Our bookkeeper is a volunteer. Everybody else is a volunteer.
That's amazing.
It really is amazing.
So when you wrote the last article, can you talk about what you wrote?
Well, I wrote about, of course, what we're doing. We are revamping our organization in the sense that we're looking at the needs of the organization as opposed to just looking at the needs of the community. So we're looking for volunteers that have skill sets, and skill sets related to HR, human resources, skill sets that's related to public relations, or fundraising, or anything, and just letting them know that they're valued. You know, volunteers, you think it's the big V. You know, they're put into a slot, and they're volunteers. And so a lot of people don't look at them as real people, and they have something that they can provide an organization. And so by writing the articles and requesting them to come in and help and use their skills to transition into what our needs are, then, we're giving them value. and identifying that value, not only within the organization, but their value impacts communities.
Well, yeah, and that looks great on a resume, by the way.
Mm-hmm. A volunteer position is hard work, and it is valued like a job.
It really is.
Right.
And so, how long does it take to go through the training? Or do they require training to be able to drive? Like
It's
just being able
absolutely.
to have your blinker work right? I'm sorry about the bad humor. That's not even funny. Because,
There absolutely is driver training.
Okay.
Different positions that we have all have come with different training.
Okay,
Yes.
go ahead and list the different positions.
The call center operators go through a training so that they can use the database that we use, so that they can answer the questions that callers call with about different transportation needs that they have. Our bookkeeper, of course, the fleet manager was a mechanic in another life. That was not what he retired from. He retired as from an engineering job, but he also was a mechanic at one point. Let's see, the drivers who drive our accessible vehicles so that they can tie down wheelchairs.
Yeah.
Use lifts in a short bus or in a minivan that has a ramp. So they are trained with PASS training, which is an extensive training that talks about people with disabilities and what their needs are, and how to be sensitive to those needs when they're transporting folks. Drivers that are going to drive their own vehicles, you might think, well, I know how to drive my own vehicle, so I know everything about it. Well, we don't allow new folks to pick up anybody until we ride with them, and until we go through all of our safety issues. So,
Have you
everybody
ever
goes
had
through-
anybody that you've had to say, no, we can't, we love you, but we watched you go through too many stop signs?
Yes, it wasn't stop signs. Yes,
And then say, but you know what, we can utilize you in this area.
exactly.
Do you see how good I just made
That's
that transition
exactly
here?
what we
So
do.
that's good, because that means that you were able to look at the individual and say, you know what, you're not good at this, but you know what, I think you'd be great at this. Right?
Yeah, we say something along the lines of, I think you might really like this, seems to be something you might be really interested in, and kind of lean away from the driving.
So what are your hours? Are you
The
a
phones-
24/7?
The phones are open 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, with an hour off for lunch between noon and 1. But if somebody's looking for a ride, they can ask for a ride at any time, so 24/7 on the rides.
So they can leave a message if they need to.
They can leave a message, and if they want, for instance, we've had folks call and say they want to ride at 3 o'clock in the morning to catch the bus to the casino.
Oh, that's charming.
And we
Wow.
did not have any volunteers step up and want to do that ride, so we had to tell them that we didn't have somebody to take them.
3 o'clock in the morning to go gambling.
Whatever
But that
folks
was a
wanted-
need. That person might have been in the house all week long, and all of a sudden that was their freedom, and you guys weren't.
And if they would have chosen to go to the beauty salon at 3 in the afternoon, we would have had a much better chance of getting them the ride.
Well, you have to determine what your
Priority.
organization can do in regards to helping them,
Mhm.
because going to the casino is really not that much of a priority as getting your hair done and your family's about to come out and visit you.
And one of the things too is that these rides are free rides. We don't charge. So we're a second responder to a ride requests. And so if there is an alternative that someone else can actually use as opposed to using our volunteer, then we have the information that we can transition them to those types of rides. Because again, this person.
Well, aren't they limited by income also?
not
people-
everybody.
Oh, okay.
It's not a criteria that qualifies them for us, no. We have quite a number of people that might be okay financially, but need the extra help of a volunteer.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
a
that
taxi driver
makes
wouldn't
sense.
take them in, or
Right.
wouldn't wait for them at a doctor's appointment or something like that. They might need a volunteer for the extra help.
Right, and this also indicates too that most of our people have a disability, so they're either cognitively or ambulatory disabled. So, and that doesn't income doesn't qualify
Correct.
their disability.
Correct.
So that's where that's at. Yeah. But, you know, a lot of this, Northwest Valley Connect is an organization in the West Valley that provides this transportation. There isn't anybody else out there that's actually doing the type of work that we do. We're a nonprofit business. But in that recognition is that volunteers are part, just like an employee, they're part of the business. And when people invest in our volunteers, for example, if one of the cities provides a funding amount for transportation for their community members, that equates to an amount of money, like we call it the ROVE. It's the return on investment, okay, that they get back in volunteer services to their community. So
It's a value coming back to the community.
it's a value coming back, right. And so, like for us, we have calculated the number of hours that our volunteers provide as a service, and we have looked at our budget, and through them, the formulation of that, we have come up with a return on investment of $5.50. So whatever dollar anybody invests in our business, they get $5.50 back as far as the impact or return
I
on
think that's a
investment.
good return.
Absolutely, it's a very good return.
Pretty awesome, yes.
Yeah, because you think somebody that invests $10,000 as a grant into our business, they're getting back $5,500 in return. You know,
So it's a win-win situation for everybody.
exactly. You
And
can't lose.
and do you have someone that searches out grants for you guys, or are you doing it?
We do it.
we do it.
Yeah.
We
Trudy and
team.
I do it. Yes.
Yeah, we do it
Wow.
together.
And we
Yeah.
write the grants.
Which can be challenging in itself. That could take a whole day.
A whole day.
Well, I think you two
I
are
appreciate it.
geniuses.
A
in the-
grant takes a long time
It does.
to write.
I understand that. I didn't mean that rudely. I'm just saying that
Yeah,
it's a lot of research,
Well-
and you're limited because not only are you trying to find grants, but you're helping out the community and scheduling all of these people that you're helping on a schedule without pulling your hair out.
Most of the time.
yeah. No, a lot of times, transportation is not a very favorable subject for people for funding. Okay, federal funding, a lot of the federal funds have been pulled back for transportation. The Area Agency on Aging no longer funds their volunteers for transportation. So we have to, when we look for grants, we look at how we can, couch it so it's just not direct transportation. It is a service. And we were just talking about an opportunity that may be coming up. And we don't fit into the healthcare objectives, so to speak, but we do fit into a cultural and environmental objective because it is a cultural responsibility of our society to provide for the disabled transportation.
Well, yeah, because not everybody can afford an Uber.
Right.
Right.
Or could even understand
Or
how
Lyft.
to book a Lyft trip.
Right. I
There's
was
no phone
having
number.
problems getting the app, and I don't know about you, but my dad refuses to use a phone. If you can't flag him down, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
And I looked at him, I said, well, this isn't New York. And he says, I'm not using an app. I don't even know what that is. So it's also educating them. But with your organization, all they have to do is call.
Right.
They don't even have to get on the computer to find out.
Well, what we find is a lot of people that call us don't have a computer
Right.
or don't know how to use them.
Well, and as my father said, you get to a certain age where the computer is not necessary to live.
Correct.
It is more important to live
Yeah.
without a computer than to expect the computer to make your life complete.
Right.
So
the value. It's
you
a
know,
person's value, how things change.
right,
Yeah.
and like you said, the Uber or Lyft driver may not be compassionate and say, "Well, let me help you out the door," or may not even be aware that the person that they're helping has a disability, and it's not that they're not being professional; it's just that they haven't been trained. And you need to be trained to look out for things like that, and shown compassion. Am I correct?
Absolutely. And so we use a LIFT program for a low-income program in the Sun City West area and for our El Mirage dial-a-ride. And what I found is that the Lyft drivers are really pretty terrific most of the time, but they don't have they don't have the knowledge about what the customer's issues are, problems are.
Oh.
Ahead of time, we know our clients, so our volunteers have an easier time dealing with those kinds of situations.
So they have to give them that information.
Well, you're talking about a sensitivity. A lot of times
Right.
people don't pick up on that, especially if you have young people. And I love young people, but I'm just saying the exposure, the limitation on the exposure, to be sensitive to the elderly people's needs, you know.
Right.
And one of the things that we provide is a door-through-door service. A lot of times our elderly people need help getting to the door and through the door. And our volunteers go that extra mile, if you so to speak, to do that. Now, a Lyft driver or Uber driver, they would not do that,
Right.
You know,
Because their
it's
time is money.
limitation. That's right.
Yeah, and their perspective is different
Exactly.
because they're looking at, well, I need to make a certain amount of trips in this amount of time. It's been nice knowing you, but can you pay me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And whereas your organization doesn't do that.
Well, I can give you a couple of examples.
Go for it.
So we had a lady call, and I actually answered the phone, and she said, I really need a ride to the bank. I need a ride to the bank today. And I said, we really have to have notice so we can send it out to the volunteers and find somebody to drive you, and can you go to the bank tomorrow? And she said, no, I really need to go to the bank today. And then she started crying, and she said, my husband passed away yesterday.
Oh.
And he always went and got our Social Security checks on the 3rd, and they came in today, and I have to go to the bank. So I called a volunteer, and he said, I'll go take care of her. He went and picked her up. He took her to the bank. He took her to the pharmacy, and he took her to the grocery store, and then he took her home. How would that happen on a taxi? I mean, if you think about it.
Right. Right.
And an Uber or a Lyft, you have to have a pickup and a destination, and that has to be done. So to go to the next one.
Correct.
So the volunteer stayed with her the whole time, took care of her, got her back home, and then he came down to my office. And this is a volunteer driver that doesn't come down to the office. He gets his assignments online through an email, and he doesn't come down. But he came down and he said, you have to do something for this lady because she's very frail. And there's no support system for her. She's from New York. Her husband died. If she falls down at her house, she will not get up.
Wow.
So we connected her with the people that were doing the necklaces, the alert
Right.
necklaces, and who would check on her. And the next time I talked to her about a week later, she was calling us her angels.
Oh,
Very sweet lady.
that's a miracle. I mean, literally, that is a miracle in the works.
We get stuff like that happening a lot. We had
What
a lady.
about a young one? Because not
Sure.
all older people live in Sun City West. There's some young whippersnappers down there that also have disabilities.
So we have a young lady who lives in Surprise.
See?
Her name is Hope, and she's blind. And she's got 2 young children. She is a teacher,
Wow.
and she takes her kids to a daycare. Well, her husband takes the kids to daycare, and she rides paratransit to go to her work, to go to the school. And she called us because her husband goes out of town on business trips sometimes, and she can't take the kids to the daycare on paratransit. She can, but then she'd have to wait at the daycare for another hour and a half and would never make it to school on time.
Wow.
So she calls us, and our volunteer takes her and the 2 kids in their car seats to the daycare first and then to her school when her husband's out of town.
And that can be cumbersome because, if the kids are not in a good mood, children are so beautiful, right? They never act up.
Mm-mm.
So, and you have to have
No more than adults.
Well, they're more vocal. Let's just put it that way. But you've got to be able to have that volunteer who has the calmness and can handle the kids, which is a lot because you want to get them there safely. That's your main priority, to get them there safely. But now you have to deal with kids who may have not wanted to get up this early to go to daycare, right?
And one of the things that you're pointing out too, volunteerism for us, in transportation, the kind of transportation that we provide, is not for everybody. We see a number of people that come through the door and want to be volunteers, and certainly we do want them. And they get into the interview and the discussion of what all of this is about, and it becomes, okay, I'll let you know. And so, it's not like that's, it's okay, because it's the recognition that a kind of empathy or the ability to share yourself with somebody like this, that demands a lot. A lot of times people are that's not their nature. And so they recognize it and they say, thank you for the opportunity, but, I'm walking on. So that's fine.
Well, that's what
Sometimes
the
not a
interview
good fit.
process is for, because
Yes.
it works both ways.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, it also opens up the other job opportunities. So there's a lot of different opportunities for them in our organization. But if that's not a good fit, we know other organizations that we
That may
partner
need
with.
'em. And what
Yes.
other organizations do you partner with?
One Step Beyond, Benavia.
Well, you got to explain these
to my
organizations
surprise.
because not everybody knows them.
So
One Step Beyond.
One Step Beyond is a day program for. You had somebody here from.
Mosaic.
Yes, it's like that. It's an organization
Okay.
like Mosaic.
Okay.
I saw that interview. One Step Beyond has offices or programs in Glendale and in Surprise. Benavia has adult day programs for Alzheimer's, for Parkinson's, for young adults with disabilities also. So they do a number of, and they have WORTSES, which is a child care.
Nice.
Yeah.
So it's you guys. I'm sure you stumble across them by mistake, and then you're like, oh, "This is a perfect jewel. We can use them," and you refer other people to them,
We partner with them. Yeah, we work with them.
and that's got to be helpful to you guys
Oh, yeah.
because you're planting that seed in their mind, saying, "Here's another resource."
Right. We're not the only maverick in town, But what you're saying is that we have to work with the community resources in order to be able to be effective for our community members, and I certainly agree with that. And that's one of the things that Northwest Valley does, is that they have a group of I'm so sorry. They have a fairly large group of what they call stakeholders. And we have stakeholder meetings once a month, and those are the providers, and those are the some of the residents, and those are the business people that come in, and we sit down and we talk about, transportation and how we advocate for transportation, because we're looking at public transportation. Hopefully, at some point in time, Northwest Valley Connect won't be needed.
Oh yeah, we'll always be needed.
Oh, I'm
You'll
saying
always be
I
needed.
recognize that, but I'm just saying that the resources to step up to the plate and look at public transportation and say, how can we service these people, because these people have a different type of transportation needs, and that's not being addressed in public transportation, and that's happening across the board throughout the United States. And we're looking at a population, an older population that is growing to a point that in 2050, the 18-year-olds and the 50-year-olds the population numbers are going to be the same. So who's providing for who?
Wow.
That's right. So the question is, who's providing for who? And so the recognition is that there has to be an awareness and people doing things to overcome some of the gaps that we're talking about. Yeah.
So what Northwest Valley Connect does right now is we've stepped up and we are really taking care of what a public transportation system would and more. So the volunteers do the door-through-door that Trudy was talking about before.
I think that's great.
That's something that public transportation would never be able to handle, would never do. And that in the future I see with the buses, with circulators, with public transportation coming out to the West Valley or the Northwest Valley, to the grid system like what Phoenix has, that what there will be left for us to do is more of the hand-holding, the door-through-door transportation that so many folks need. So it'll lessen the draw on us. It'll make things more. So let me tell you a little bit about statistics, okay? So in 2014, we opened the call center in September. By the end of December, we had 288 calls, folks that needed transportation, that we could reply or resource out, that we could tell them what the resources were in the area for them. By 2018, we had 12,455 calls.
That's crazy.
The growth has been
Phenomenal.
yes. And so as far as trips go, in 2014, one of the things that I started doing was keeping track of what kind of trips people were asking for, what the gaps in service were. So I started a volunteer driver program and got the insurance for it in May of 2015. In 2015, from May to December, we did 656 trips. In 2018, we did 12,096 trips.
Oh my God.
We still only have volunteer drivers. We're talking about more and more volunteer drivers, but there is an impact on how we are able to handle these. The capacity has grown,
Right.
but we also are stressed at our capacity.
Well, yeah. I mean, because you've got limited resources, and you need more of everything: money, volunteers, drivers, cars, vans,
Exactly.
whatever you got out there, people. We need it.
Yeah, that's exactly true.
And
That is
Because things break down, and
Yes.
and then you're talking about the 12,000 people that or the 12,000 rides that we service. You're not talking about the mileage that's put on the vehicle,
exactly.
and it's an average of how much, Kathy? Per
Average miles,
For-
probably 8 miles a trip. But we also do long distance trips. So we've had
Really?
veterans in Tonopah be picked up and taken to the VA hospital downtown.
Wow.
So we have some volunteers that are really dedicated to veteran trips, and those tend to be our long distance trips. Yeah.
So when you have your monthly meeting with what
The
did you say,
drivers.
the board, I thought it was the
Uh-huh.
board where the
Okay.
community comes together. Are they usually the same people, or do you put it out like on an announcement on your website or Facebook or whatever, saying we need input?
So the input meeting would probably be that transportation stakeholders meeting that we have once a month. We do have a board of directors.
Yeah, I saw
And,
that.
and that's the same people all the time. They're elected on the board.
But do they go to that meeting also? The
The stakeholders
Yeah.
meeting, some of them do, yes.
okay, and
Elected officials come to that meeting. People
Nice.
from Valley Metro and Maricopa Association of Governments come. Not at every meeting, but to some meetings. Staff members from the cities that we serve. So, and citizens and other transit providers. They all come. To my surprise is an airport shuttle service. Out of surprise. And Tom Parisi, who is the manager, the general manager for that service, he's the one that set up the fundraiser for our vehicle when he heard that the vehicle wasn't running.
nice.
So
And one of his drivers, Stu Brody, is actually somebody who does restaurant reviews in Surprise. And so he got his group to sit at Blue Sushi and do the fundraiser and sell raffle tickets.
That's awesome.
Representative Frank Carroll, he's a state representative from District 22, which is in that area, came to this fundraiser and supported us.
You
was
have to
pretty
be able
terrific.
to reach out
Mhm.
to every kind of resource out there. So I want you to tell me you are a 501c
Mm-hmm.
and your website.
NorthwestValleyConnect.org, all spelled out.
Okay. And you have another grant writer or another person that writes articles. And I take it you two complement each other.
Kathy and I, and then our board chairperson, Bonnie Boyce Wilson. Between the three of us, we try to cover a large area of bases in writing community articles. Yeah.
And do you have to pay for that, or do they list it for free because it's a part of the 501c?
We're supported very nicely by the Independent News. We actually
Nice.
just won an award from them last month as the Hometown Hero, small nonprofit.
I saw that.
It's pretty cool.
That's a pretty
That's from
big
the
honor.
Independent newspaper. They have newspapers in Surprise, Sun City
Mm-hmm.
West, Peoria, and we send our press releases to them. It's not, I don't remember a time when they didn't publish them.
Well, that's good. And so when you had this fundraising this last Friday,
Mhm.
did they publish that too?
You know, they didn't, and this is the reason why. It was done in a week. I mean, it was.
Oh, they didn't have enough time.
They didn't have time
to lay
No.
it out or whatever.
Yeah, they didn't have time at all. What they told us, the people that do these, they do fundraisers fairly regular. They had somebody else that was supposed to be in that spot. Don't tell anybody. But they let
no,
us.
The whole World Wide Web just heard about it.
Oops.
But go ahead.
But
we'll
they put
edit
us-
that out.
They put us in that spot because it was such a desperate need. It's our accessible vehicle, and we can't transport people in wheelchairs without it.
Wow.
So we do have one other vehicle that's running, a minivan. It only holds one wheelchair at a time. Sometimes we take two at a time. So it really was a big need.
You have to be creative sometimes
Hmm.
and utilize, your brain, and you're like, oh my God, I didn't think of this, and let's create a brand new solution.
Mhm.
And it can be very, very challenging, but in a good way, right?
Oh yeah, one learning experience leads to another. So we're kind of evolving.
We're 5 years old. Yes, we're
Yeah,
evolving.
you're in the baby stages, so you're walking quite a bit.
Yeah, we're in the growth stage of nonprofits, actually. There's a life cycles of nonprofits, and we're in the growth stage.
And but it's a good growth.
Mhm. I would think so. That's what we hear.
I'm just really, because I ride the bus and the train every day, and it just shocks me that they don't have any transportation for that side of the community.
Yeah. It
And
shocks me, too, because that's what we did in
They have
Flagstaff, and all of
plenty of
Flagstaff
land.
is covered.
they have plenty of land to be able to get the train or and the roads. I mean, the roads are fine. So that just boggles my mind, especially for Sun City West, because what's the major hospital there?
Del Webb.
Del Webb. I mean, it's a major part of that community.
Mhm.
Now, does Del Webb, do you partner with Del Webb to bring patients to their location and take them to the door and bring them back, or?
That becomes an economic question because you're talking about a healthcare system. Del Webb's just the hospital,
Right.
but you're talking about healthcare systems that relate to that hospital. So, that becomes more of an economic issue, healthcare economic issue. And to say that they would pay for us to take their patients there, at this point, that door has not been opened.
Okay. It's, I was just thinking because that place is huge,
Mhm.
but I have had to take a friend of mine to that hospital. And do you know why? They didn't have a ride.
Mm.
And you can't just tell them, no, I'm sorry, you got to cancel that appointment, because appointments are few and far between. It may take you 6 months before you can see that specialist or that doctor again. So it's definitely a need. What is the most gratifying moment other than being told, congratulations, you're going to volunteer here for the rest of your life?
For the rest of your life. I love
You
it.
like that?
I did.
It's the opportunities, how to utilize volunteers. We just are in the process of getting a Service Enterprise Initiative certification through the state of Arizona, which is actually through the Points of Light. And Points of Light has been around for a number of years, and it's a national organization that services nonprofits to support and manage and to train volunteers. And also,
That's a big achievement.
yes, it is. People don't realize. Again, it's a big effort through the state of Arizona, but there's not a lot of people jumping on board, and it's unfortunate because it's recognizing the value in people,
Right.
and being able to promote that value, advocate for that value within your organization and within your community.
Now, I'm going to put you on the spot. I want to know how much recognition you have had, because I know you're not telling me all of them.
Well, since we started Northwest Valley Connect, in 2017 we got the Small Nonprofit of the Year award from the Surprise Regional Chamber of Commerce. That was a big deal because nobody in our organization nominated us. It was actually them that chose us.
Nice.
So, and then I got the Transit Individual of the Year award from the Arizona Transit Association and Arizona DOT, Department of Transportation, at the conference. And
Which
that
was what year?
That was in 2017 also. And then this year we got a congressional recognition from Congresswoman Debbie Lesko. That was just a few months ago at the Transportation Stakeholders meeting. And then we got the Hometown Hero Award from the Independent News Media.
You have to toot your own horn. Is that all of them? I think there's one you've missed.
Nope, that's it.
Okay, I'm just double checking because the one good thing about this podcast is I want to promote nothing but goodness. And that's what you guys are. I mean, the stories that touch so many people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing but goodness. And you want to continue this journey.
Yep, we definitely do. And I sure appreciate you helping us promote the fact that we need more volunteers and money. We do want to continue.
Well, tell me again your website and the phone number that people could call if they needed assistance.
Okay, the website is northwestvalleyconnect.org, O-R-G, and the phone number is 623-282-9300.
And on that website, people can make contributions since
Yes.
you're a 501c. Okay,
Yes.
people, we need to give more money. We need to help them out because this is a fantastic organization. I thank you both ladies for
Thank
coming
you.
out and supporting this great opportunity. And remember to be kind to one another